I didn't think I'd ever find myself in a battle over land, much less having to defend my property against a bunch of shortcut-hungry commuters. But here we are. And the wildest part, I didn't raise my voice once. I live just outside Brook Hollow, a quiet town that used to be more about tractors than traffic lights. It wasn't even that long ago, really, just 15 years back when I bought my piece of land. 5 acres, a nice long stretch tucked between Millstone Road on one side and Alder Creek Drive on the other. At the time, Millstone was still 2 lanes wide and patient, and Alder Creek wasn't even fully paved yet, just gravel and a dream of something bigger. I didn't buy the land because I had big plans. I didn't need it for development or investments. I needed space. After my divorce, I was done with all the echoes. I built a modest house, 1 story, tucked away a little from the road. Big front porch, the kind where the swing creaks just right in the summer breeze. I planted some grass, a couple of maples, and set up a split rail fence. Just for looks, really. The back of the property, I left it open, just a field rolling gently down toward the creek, catching the evening sun. And for years, nothing happened. It was perfect. But of course, things don't stay the same forever. Brook Hollow started to grow like a weed creeping into the cracks of a sidewalk. A tech company set up shop off Millstone Road, building some office park. Alder Creek got widened and fed into a brand new subdivision, Copper Ridge. The first signs of young families, shiny SUVs and delivery vans. Traffic started to thicken, slow down, and annoyingly get in the way like soup boiling over when you forget to turn down the heat. I noticed it in pieces. More brake lights at rush hour. More honking, more cars trying to find a way around each other. But I didn't realize I was part of their solution until one evening in late September. I was sitting on my porch, glass of iced tea in hand, watching the sun dip behind the tree line. That's when I saw headlights moving where they had no business moving. Not on Millstone, not on Alder Creek, but in my field. At first I thought maybe it was some kid showing off or someone who lost control. But no, this car didn't swerve. It cut across my property straight as an arrow from Millstone to Alder Creek, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. And then another set of headlights followed the same path. And another. No hesitation, no confusion, just pure confidence. That's when I stood up slowly, like I was about to startle something that wasn't supposed to be there. I walked down the porch steps, boots sinking into the soft ground. And by the time I got to the middle of the yard, a sedan swept past me, maybe 40 yards in front. The driver didn't even look over. That's when I saw it: tire tracks. Not random, not fresh and isolated. A clear, defined strip of flattened grass about 10 feet wide, running straight from one road to the other in a near-perfect line. Someone had been using my property as a shortcut, and they weren't stopping. The next morning, I decided to test a theory. I poured myself a cup of coffee, grabbed a folding chair, and parked myself by the window overlooking the field. Between 7:10 and 8:10 a.m., 27 vehicles cut across my property. Sedans, pickup trucks, a delivery van. Not one of them slowed down. Not one waved. They just treated my land like it was a part of the road. It's a strange feeling watching strangers drive across your property as if it doesn't even belong to you. Like it's just space. I drove over to the office park that afternoon. It was all shiny glass and perfectly manicured bushes. I found the security guard near the entrance, an older guy named Carl who looked like he'd rather be fishing. I said, "Hey, you know, people are cutting across private land behind here." He squinted at me. "You mean that field shortcut?" "It's not a shortcut," I said. "It's my yard." Carl just shrugged. "Everybody uses it. Saves them 10 minutes when Millstone backs up." "Everybody except me," I said. He gave me that look, the kind of look you get when someone's technically right, but it's more inconvenient than it's worth. That night I pulled out my property survey. It was just where it always had been. No easements, no agreements, no nothing. Just 5 acres of mine. I didn't block it off right away. Part of me hoped it was just a phase, like some rumor that would eventually burn out. But it didn't. It escalated. Within a week, the grass was mostly gone along that path. The ground packed down and turned dusty. Rideshare drivers started using it. I watched a school bus try to inch its way across before realizing this wasn't in the route manual and awkwardly backing out. Kids pressed their faces to the windows like they were on a safari. And then came the trash. A crumpled fast food bag. A soda cup rolling in the wind. Cigarettes. It was as if someone had claimed my field as their personal lounge. That was when I felt it: anger, yes, but also something steadier. Resolve. Not loud, not flashy, but steady. I could have put up a fence, 8-foot privacy panels, razor wire, whatever. I could have turned it into a war zone, but I didn't want a war. I wanted clarity. So I called the landscaper Miguel Herrera. He'd done some work for me years ago when I first built the house. Miguel didn't talk much unless there was something worth saying. I told him what was going on and he drove out that afternoon. We walked the path together and by then the grass was completely gone. Just compacted dirt and tire tracks like rails. He crouched down, pressed his palm into the soil, then stood up slowly. "They've driven this enough," he said. "It's basically a road now." I shook my head. "It's not a road." He nodded. "No, it's not." I asked him a simple question. "If I wanted to make it impossible for cars to get through without building a fence, what would you do?" Miguel didn't answer right away. He just stared at the slope of the land the way the rainwater already drifted toward Alder Creek during storms. He was quiet for a moment, then he said, "We could cut a drainage swale across this line. Not deep, not dangerous. Just enough that no car could clear it without a ramp." I liked it. It felt practical, legal, boring even, but effective. Before we did anything, I called in Denise Holbrook, a soil engineer out of Cedar Falls. She specialized in stormwater management. She came out, measured everything, and told me, "Honestly, you probably should have had something like this installed years ago. With traffic like this, runoff is only going to get worse." So I decided to move forward. I called the county planning office to make sure everything checked out. I described the project as a drainage improvement. No one raised an eyebrow. Everything came back clean. By Thursday morning, we started. Miguel brought a small excavator, and it wasn't noisy, just steady work. I stood there with my coffee while the first strip of packed dirt was lifted and reshaped into something official. 2 days later, it was done. The swale was clean, intentional. The land didn't just look used, it looked like it had been carefully shaped. We lined the bottom with gravel to prevent washout and added clear signage at both road entries, private property, no through access. And then the cars started showing up. The first one hit it around 5:40 p.m. right on schedule. It was a silver crossover and it sped across like usual. But halfway through, the brake lights flared bright red and the car dipped slightly into the swale, then stopped. I didn't smile, but I felt something settle in my chest. By the next morning, drivers were confused. Some slowed down. Some didn't realize the change until it was too late. A delivery van even came up, paused for a good 30 seconds, and then turned around like it had just realized gravity existed. By the end of the day, the cars were back on Millstone where they belonged, but not everyone was happy. Copper Ridge had a community Facebook page, and Mrs. Donnelly, my 72-year-old neighbor, was a member. She called me one night laughing. "You're trending," she said. Apparently, I'd become the porch troll who dug a trench to punish commuters. A few days later, I got a call from the city's infrastructure office. "We've received several complaints about a drainage installation on your property, Nathan Price," the city planner said. "Would you consider modifying the swale to allow limited vehicle passage?" I didn't hesitate. "Would the city consider purchasing the land and assuming liability?" Silence. I told him I wasn't looking for conflict, just maintaining my property. 3 days later, Trent, the office park manager, showed up. He offered a collaboration. He wanted to gravel the route properly, make it official, maintain it, and even pay me for access. I wasn't interested. They kept pushing. Eventually, Trent returned with a new proposal. A formal easement with clear hours, limited vehicles, and full liability on their side. It was a deal, and I agreed. And you know what? It worked. People slowed down, respected the hours, and the tire tracks started fading. The scar across my field started to heal. I didn't do this out of spite. I did it because boundaries matter. If you don't defend them, what's to stop anyone from walking all over you? The truth is, this wasn't about grass or traffic. It was about the quiet way communities test limits. About what happens when everyone assumes a shortcut belongs to them. If that had been your land, what would you have done? Would you have fenced it off completely? Let the shortcut slide? Or would you have made a stand? Let me know in the comments.